Hey guys, it's Kirk. I do customer service here at Custom Offsets. This is my 2013 F-150 EcoBoost, and this is the builder.
I'm in it just to rewrite history, cause I'm in the mood to label us the leaders of the new school. This ain't for the radio, can't find this on YouTube. This the type of killing that these critics ain't used to. Victorious, victorious. In this day and age, I got time for innovation, time to be creative.
So I started building, I guess you could say, back all the way back to when I had motorcycles, dirt bikes, and four-wheelers. My passion started customizing things back then. Started with graphic kits. When I got a quad, it started with aftermarket wheels and tires on that. And then when I turned 16, I got my first car. I got a 2010 Ford Fusion. I thought I did a lot to it back then, but all I did was really swap out the headlights for HIDs, powder coated the wheels black, and added window tint. Pretty much did everything myself. I did the window tint myself. It was a disaster, but it was mine, so it was pretty cool. Got pulled over for that multiple times. Ended up crashing that car into deer on 3 separate occasions, almost totaling the car. And then I decided I needed a truck, and that's where I started the truck behind me. Bought it when I was in college. The only time I thought I could afford it, and that's pretty much where my building began. The reason I can't leave a vehicle stock is simply because it's too boring. It's essentially exactly like everyone else. It doesn't show your personality, and I get a lot of crap because I used to drive my truck all winter long, and people would ask me why I'm destroying such a beautiful truck that I put thousands of dollars into, and essentially I just can't drive a stock vehicle. I refuse to buy a winter beater because it doesn't show who I am. So essentially it comes down to, I just don't want to be like everyone else. I want my vehicle to be a reflection of my personality and who I am as a person. I did buy a winter beater, and my winter beater turned out to be a 2017 Volkswagen Jetta that I've already got tinted and wheels and tires on the way. So I guess the biggest influence I had at first was probably the Gram. And the reason being is there wasn't many builds back. I mean, it was only 3 or 4 years ago, but back then, builds weren't very big. So there was a few builds that started. I think the first build I ever really followed was Silvertip. He had a F-150 pretty tricked out, and that's pretty much where I started my build at. And from there, it just started as friends and family didn't quite get why I wanted to do it. My parents have always been into customization, but not nearly as much as I was. I mean, they always did wheels, tires, window tint, and that was about it. So my parents did minor things, but nothing to the extent that I was interested in doing. But really it was Instagram and just my own personal thought of wanting to build something that represented me. It definitely gave up a lot to build my truck to where it is. I could have saved a lot, I could have paid for different things, went out for dinner a lot more, did more things with friends, go on vacations, but to me it wasn't worthwhile. I enjoyed spending money on my truck. Money I've ever spent on anything in my life, and definitely the biggest build probably for the rest of my life that I'll ever do. This truck started with pretty much what everyone starts with. I got a leveling kit and added aftermarket tires and window tint, and that was essentially pretty much how everyone starts out a build, but it's what I could afford. I upgraded the shocks. I think I did a Rancho 2-inch leveling kit that replaced the entire strut assembly up front. Added some Toyo Open Country AT2s. There's some 305/55s, which I thought were gonna look monstrous on there. Turned out to be like an inch taller than factory, so I was really disappointed with that, but it was definitely different than stock, so I loved it for what it was. My truck did come with the appearance package, so it did have some nice 20-inch wheels from the factory. They were blacked out. The entire truck was blacked out, so back in the day, the Graham didn't have crap, and Custom Offsets' website was nowhere near where it was today. There's a couple vehicles in the gallery, so I found one guy on Instagram that was running 20x12 wheels, and 3-4 years ago, 20x12s were nowhere to be found. No one did that. And this guy had a 2012 F-150 with 12 wides on a leveling kit. So I bought him. I said, I can do that. Took it to the shop. They test fit one, and they laughed at me. They didn't even take the tire off. They just tested a wheel, and they said, we're not touching this, because obviously it would have been a disaster trying to fit it. So of course, that led me to adding a 6-inch lift kit that I installed in a buddy's garage, was able to get the tires on, and of course they fit. And that point is when I got in contact with Custom Offsets. Sean actually reached out to me via Instagram, told me to add to the gallery, and I did because I thought it was badass to show off my truck. There were only a few vehicles back then, maybe 1,000 or so, and added to the gallery, found out about Team Stance, and from there forth, pretty much got into Custom Offsets and Team Stance, and the build just rolled off from there. I mean, it started with the wheels, then I went into getting, I think after that, I went into getting the Addictive Desert Designs bumper, and then into bigger tires. I went to 35s and got rid of the 305s, and it snowballed from there, adding piece to piece. I currently sit at 8.5 inches of lift. It has about 6 different lift kits added into one. Started off as a 6.5-inch McGoy's. I swapped out the factory, the OEM lift struts for 6-inch BDS lift struts, added a 2.5-inch leveling kit on top, not stacking spacers. I literally took out the 6.5-inch spacer from the McGoy's kit, but a 2.5-inch level on top of the 6-inch lift strut, so it is safe, nothing worries. Added Pro Comp upper control arms, Pro Comp traction bars, added fender flares because the cops didn't like my stance. I did have spacers and 12 wides previously, they didn't like that. So after I moved out of that area, I went to 22x14 custom painted 2-piece fuel nuts with 375, 45, 22 Nitto. Went with a Ram Air hood, air intake, SCT custom tunes. I went with Unleash 91 Performance tune, window tint, complete windshield tint from a local guy here called Fade to Black. He did an awesome job on that. Custom built taillights by Kevin Duane at Retro Customs, and a lot of just random parts, but that pretty much sums it up. We had some amp running boards, the automatic drop down steps, been going 3 years strong, 3 winters in Wisconsin, still doing a ridiculously awesome job. I never would imagine they would have lasted this long. I used to have a 50-inch light bar a couple years ago, back when that was really hot. I had a 40-inch light bar in the grill around my Addictive Desert Designs bumper. Ended up taking that off because of complications with the local authorities. I have Lux Underglow. I think now it's about a 15-piece kit. I've been adding pieces all the way along. Red wheel lights from Crazy Town Customs. And interior, all red. I replaced all the LEDs above with red LEDs. I don't know where I got them from. I think F-150 LEDs or maybe stage 3. And then also have diode dynamic red footwell light as well. Oh yep, I do have a 40 and a 20-inch Putco behind the grill, small enough to not mess with the EcoBoost intercooler. That's a big thing with the EcoBoost, obviously. If you block that intercooler, it will not be happy. Putco was about 1 inch tall, so I was able to tuck that in there, and I do have Black Label cubes as reverse lights. I pretty much got it to the point where it's a truck that I always wanted it to be. Built it to where I loved it, got pulled over, had to change it, rebuild it, and to where it sits now. And there's really not much I would change on it. I mean, if I rebuilt the truck, it probably wouldn't be nearly crazy as it is, but where it sits now is really where I love it. And I might change some things, probably wheels down the road, but Other than that, it's really where I want it to sit for the time being. To say the coolest trip I ever went, probably when we went to Tennessee with Team Stance. I don't remember how many trucks we were rolling with, could have been 30 to 50, I don't remember, but just rolling with that many badass trucks. I mean, most of them are all lifted just as mine is, if not better than where mine sits. And even if their wheels and tires are small with the leveling kit, anything, or if wheels and tires are the only mod they have. I mean, rolling with that many trucks that are all enthusiasts about what you do at the same time, and just the looks you get from everyone is just badass. I mean, a 10 to 15 hour trip one way, and all you do is rolling down the interstate with your friends and all badass trucks is just something that I probably can't explain to you, but whatever you're passionate about, think of the best experience, and that's what it is. It's just something you can't really explain, but the experience is just awesome. The obsession is just something that isn't for other people. It's not to show off, it's nothing like that. People always thought I was cocky back in school when I had nice things. I don't care what you think, it's all about me. It's what my truck represents as me as a person, my personality, and it's my dream, it's what I wanted. I came up with the idea, I bought the parts, I put the effort into it, I had someone else wrench on it. To me, I still built it, it's still my obsession. So that's part of the reason of being in the truck club, is that everyone appreciates you. No one down talks you and tells you that, well, you didn't wrench on it, so that's not a build, you bought that. And I don't quite get that concept, but to each their own, and I just like hearing the feedback from everyone in the club. I've been in Team Stance here for 4 years now, and I absolutely love it. I'm not as active as I'd like to be, or as when I originally started, but that's mainly because I work for Custom Offsets and I live, breathe, and bleed everything custom offset. So I'm around it every day. I talk to enthusiasts every day via email. I checked my numbers today. I did 157 emails helping customers, resolving issues, helping them buy and build their obsessions. So I've fallen back from being really active in the community as I wish I was, but I help others all day build their dreams. So I wish I was more active in the community and in the truck club itself, but with my job, it just kind of takes me back, and I help secondary, I guess you could say. Building this truck brought me into my job today, so it was the best decision of my life, and I thank my parents profusely for getting me into it and telling me that I can buy a truck and I can afford it if I work my ass off. If I never would have hit that deer, if I never would have crashed that car, if I never would have had that advice from my parents to buy this truck, I never would have got this job. The reason I have this job is because I put a lift kit on my truck, I bought 12 wides and didn't know they'd fit, and Sean reached out to me and I found out about this company. If somebody really wanted this truck bad enough and gave me a stupid amount of money for it, then definitely over what it's worth, I would probably get just a new model F-150, 17, or maybe wait for the 18s and definitely customize it. Don't know if I would do the full 6-inch lift. I might go low and wide, maybe leveling kit 12 wides or something like that, more of a street truck, but not 100% sure. I'd have to think about it, but as of right now, if I ever do another build, it would probably be a new model truck, lowered, or not lowered, but a leveling kit with wide wheels, 12 wides, 33s, something like that. All right, guys, this was my episode of The Builder. Hope to see a lot of your builds up on Custom Offsets, and hope to talk to some of you in the future to help you out with your builds. Peace.